If you live or are planning on coming to Japan on a vacation, be sure not to break the law, as prison life in Japan is extremely harsh. Japanese prisons are incredibly strict and there are rules for everything. Rules for how to use the toilet, rules for how to sit in your cell, and failure to follow these rules will result in some serious punishment. Some rules include how to place things in your cell, how to sit and stand during cell inspection, there's no leaning, no laying down, or no random walking around the cell. There are even rules how to sleep. Must sleep on your back or side, never on your stomach, do not read, talk, or move around during sleep time. Marching is another creative aspect to doing time in Japan. Prisoners must march when moving from point A to point B, failure to march correctly will result in solitary confinement. If marching was crazy enough, there are even rules for speaking. For the vast majority of the day, strict silence must be observed. However, during leisure times you're allowed to talk in a low voice with your fellow inmates. Utmost respect must be used when addressing guards or punishments will follow. If you look at a guard in a disrespecting manner, severe punishment will follow. Now on to eating time. You must not look at your fellow inmates, must remain silent, and must not waste any food. Some of the more sadistic punishments used in Japan are painful and psychologically damaging. Prisoners who break the rules are placed in solitary confinement for something known as reflection time. Prisoners must sit in a kneeling position, from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening. Prisoners must remain in this position all day. Prison guards will inform prisoners when they can use the toilet. If the timing isn't right, they must relieve themselves where they sit. And there is a more serious form of solitary confinement if that punishment doesn't do the trick. Prisoners are kept in a dark cell with no bedding, or anything for that matter, for weeks, months, or even in some cases, years. Prisoners are also forced to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. Prison jobs include folding paper bags, assembling plastic toys, and making wooden chairs. During work hours, prisoners must focus 100% of their attention on their job. They're not allowed to speak, not allowed to look at other prisoners, and not allowed to look at the guards. They are given 2 15-minute breaks, and 20 minutes for lunch. Finally, Japan has capital punishment in the form of hanging. Prisoners held in death row are not told when their execution day will be. They wait for years on death row, never knowing when their time will come. Prison officials will only inform them a few hours before they are set to die. And, for the families of the accused, they are not told until after their beloved relative has been executed. Next on our list of strange things in Japan, really expensive fruit. Japanese love buying extremely expensive fruit, from square-shaped watermelons to ruby Roman grapes. These mouth-watering fruits are carefully cultivated across Japan. Such products often sell for thousands of dollars. In 2016, a pair of premium Hokkaido cantaloupe sold for a record $27,000. Large baseball-sized strawberries usually sell for more than 500,000 yen. And, ruby Roman grapes, of which just 2,400 bunches are produced each year, sell for approximately $1,000. Now for the third truly strange aspect about Japan is the art of sleeping at work. In Japan, it's perfectly acceptable to take a snooze at work. It's widely understood that Japanese workers work incredibly long hours, so taking a nap at work is believed to be a sign of one's dedication to work. In fact, Japan suffers from people dying due to overwork. Recent statistics showed approximately 12% of salaried workers worked for over 100 hours a week. The luxury of sleeping at work is not one all workers can take. If you're a new employee, you'd best not sleep. However, if you're middle-aged, maybe over 40, then feel free to take a nap. The higher your rank, the more you're allowed to sleep. Next, the hermit subculture known as hikikomori. Hikikomori is a term used in Japan to describe people, more often young men, who stay in their house, or within their room all the time. That's 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. They never go outside. Their family brings them food. It is estimated that there are about 4 million of these people in Japan. These unique social problems is attributed to the extreme social pressures in Japan, and people's inability to cope for the various social constraints found within Japanese culture. Many of these hermits are now in their 40s, which means their elderly parents must care for them. Next, public drunkenness. Public drunkenness is more acceptable and commonplace in Japan than in the US and in Europe. Public drunkenness among men in dark suits is a common sight throughout Japan's cities. Salarymen talking loudly, laughing and singing in the streets, and sometimes urinating in alleys is a nightly occurrence in Japan. It's more than just drinking with their buddies. Japanese businessmen often are strongly encouraged, or obligated to drink with their colleagues and superiors after work. Japanese businessmen, with their inability to say no to their superiors, leads them into heavy intoxication and public drunkenness. Japanese business culture frowns upon refusing drinks from another colleague. This leads to some truly funny scenes, such as men ending up face down and passed in the street, passed out on the train, or sleeping on a sidewalk. Our final exhibit of strange Japanese culture is something known as Cuddle Cafe. This is uniquely Japanese and quite weird. Tired and stressed out Japanese businessmen are worn out from a hard day's work. They have no girlfriend or wife, but crave the presence of a female. So, they stumble into the neighborhood Cuddle Cafe. These establishments offer the luxury of cuddling with a young lady for about $55 per hour. The companionship isn't what you think though. Services are completely non-sexual. Common desires are stroking the lady's hair, staring at each other, and of course, getting your ears cleaned. Indeed, quite strange. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more interesting videos.